Well, good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome to Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for what promises to be a fabulous season of FIA Formula 3 European Championship racing. We're here for the very first round of the season, a season which will take us right across Europe with 11 different rounds, 3 races at each of those rounds, so 33 rounds in total for this year's championship. And it's a new look for the cars this year for Formula 3 because we have an increase in horsepower. We have a load of new drivers on the grid and some of the old guard coming back trying to win the championship, but some very quick rookies to look forward to as well. My name's Chris Hartley. I'm going to be talking to you through all of the weekend, through all 3 races here at Silverstone. The drivers and cars very shortly will be making their way onto the grid ready for this first race. We had some very exciting qualifying sessions yesterday, which saw 2 different drivers taking pole positions. There are 2 sessions which set the grid for the 3 races. The first qualifying session set the grid for this one. The second qualifying session, the fastest laps, determined who would start where for race 2. And the second fastest lap times in that session decided who would start where for race 3. And it was mightily close. For example, for this first race, the top 2 were split by just 2 thousandths of a second. And it will be Tom Blomqvist, the British driver, who will be lining up on pole position for this first race of the season. There you can see on screen the drivers getting ready to come out onto the grid very shortly. The race scheduled to get underway in less than 10 minutes' time now. The grid girls are waiting for the drivers. So this year, we've got an increase in horsepower from 210 brake horsepower up to 240 brake horsepower now. New for 2014, the engines are no longer really based on production engines. They're now designed and produced specifically to FIA regulations. They've got direct fuel injection for the first time as well, which has led to this increase in power. There's also less restriction on the engines. They now have a 28mm diameter air restrictor, whereas it was a 26mm air restrictor last year. So a big leap up in power. G-forces are incredible with these drivers as well, particularly some of the high-speed corners around this circuit, like Copse Corner. G-forces for the drivers up to 3.5 G they will pull. So they need to be fit, they need to be strong, and they need to be mentally very focused indeed. All running on slick tyres, of course, provided by Hankook. They have 3 sets of new slicks which they can run across qualifying and the races. So we'll have to see who saves tyres for which races. Some of them already had 2 20-minute qualifying sessions. Some of those tyres have already been used up. And they're all running this weekend the Dallara chassis, 2012 homologated chassis, and a variety of engine suppliers. VW, Mercedes, Renault back to Formula 3 for the first time for 11 years since 2003. They're providing engines. And Neil Brown Engineering, the Yorkshire-based firm, also providing engines to T-Sport this year. Their last successes in Formula 3 came with Sergio Perez back in 2008 when they powered his race victories in the British Formula 3 season. So this is a premier single-seater category. We have drivers not just from Europe, but right across the world. There are 26 of them on the grid, with drivers from as far afield as the UAE, Israel, from Colombia, from Indonesia, from Brazil, and Canada, and of course right across Europe. Those are the Hankook tyres. There you can see the drivers coming up onto the grid. Tom Blomqvist having sealed pole position by just 2 thousandths of a second yesterday in his Volkswagen-powered car, run by Carlin, but it's a new partnership this year. Carlin, who had 9 British Formula 3 Championship title successes, racing in the F3 Championship with Jagonia IAM this year, so I have 2 cars with that partnership, and one of them is on pole position, Tom Blomqvist, the son of the 1984 World Rally champion Stig Blomqvist. But some very quick rookies coming in this season, as I mentioned earlier, and one of them almost got himself on pole position for this race, the French driver, his first ever time at Silverstone, Esteban Ocon, who races for Prema Power Team, the Italian squad, who won the championship last year with Raffaele Marciello, and he, in his very first weekend around Silverstone, just missed out on pole position for this race. However, in the second session, he was one of the few drivers to go quicker in session 2, which was at the end of the afternoon yesterday. It was a bit cooler, and he managed to go slightly quicker than he'd gone in the first qualifying session and got pole for races 2, which is later on this afternoon, and 3. So you can see cars coming up onto the grid. That is number 16, Gustavo Menezes for Van Amersfoort Racing. The American driver coming up onto his grid spot. Starts 13th for this race. And you can see the nose cones. Hopefully won't need any of those to be coming onto the cars. So we've got 6 rookies here, and in pre-season testing, they've all been going very well. And in qualifying, most of them went well yesterday as well. Ocon was second fastest. Antonio Fuccio, the Italian driver, also for Prema Power Team, was only half a tenth away from pole, so he started third. And Max Verstappen, son of Jos Verstappen, is coming into his first season of car racing, having had a magnificent karting career where he's been a world champion, a multiple European champion. The 16-year-old Max Verstappen is going to start this race 4th on the grid in pre-season testing, which we had at the Red Bull Ring in Austria and at the Hungaro Ring. He topped a couple of those sessions as well, so he looks like a real talent to watch out for. There is number 7, who we're going to see starting a bit further down the grid, Riccardo Agostini for the Euro International squad. And there we can see number 28. That is Jake Dennis, one of the British drivers here. Another of the rookies, having made his way from Formula Renault. Doesn't live all that far from Silverstone, comes from Nuneaton in the Midlands. And another very quick kart racer. His dad, Steve, was a multiple champion in 250cc kart racing. Jake, run by the Carlin squad, was one of the rookies that went very well in pre-season testing. Was in the top 6 in 3 of the 4 tests, but didn't have such a good day yesterday, I'm afraid. He wasn't quite there. Was about a second off the pace, and he'll start 15th on the grid. Felix Rosenqvist, he's definitely not a rookie in this championship. He's all eyes really on him. A lot of expectation for the young Swede this year from Malmo, because this is now going to be his 5th season of Formula 3, having started Formula 3 back in 2010 in Germany. He was the runner-up in last year's championship, but he didn't go particularly well in qualifying yesterday either, and he'll only be 14th on the grid for this race. There is number 13, Felipe Guimarães, who, again, would be just outside the top 10 on the grid. Double R Racing run driver. Only 8/10 of a second away, though, from the pole position time. 12th on the grid, Antonio Giovinazzi, another of the Italian drivers. Teammate to Tom Blomqvist. Jagonia, I am with Carlin, the very experienced British squad. Carlin running his team. Carlin ran Daniel Kvyat, who's racing in Formula 1 this weekend. And there's already been a point scorer in the championship last year. Although he was a guest, he registered late, so didn't get up there in the points, but he was a race winner at Zandvoort. There from Australia is Richard Goddard, nicknamed Spike. You can see Spike on the side of the car. And Spike Goddard returning to this championship for another crack at it. Raced in the British F3 Championship a couple of years ago, so they've raced around Silverstone and raced with 3 Bond by T-Sport last year, but didn't score any points in the championship. Another name who will be looking to go well here at Silverstone, Jordan King, who'll be starting 6th on the grid for this one, the British Formula 3 champion. And there's one of our Dutch drivers, Dennis van der Laar from the Netherlands, one of the Prema Power Team squad. Prema Power Team having a huge number of people here this weekend. 18 team members in total, running their 4 cars. And in the number 1 car, for Prema Power Team, he's the Canadian Nicola Latifi. He's actually half Italian. In the number 1 car, not because he's the champion, but because Prema won the title last year with Raffaele Marciello. He's gone on, the Ferrari Academy driver, to be racing in GP2 this season. Felix Rosenqvist, as I said, was 2nd in the championship last year, the Swede. Pushed Marciello all the way, really. Alex Lynn, the British driver, who's moved on to GP3 this year, finished 3rd in last year's championship. Lucas Auer is back this season. He finished 4th last year. There's Ed Jones, arguably the UAE's, the United Arab Emirates' most successful racing driver, national karting champion many times over. Formula Renault 2 a couple of years ago, Formula Renault 2.0 Euro Cup he raced in, and last year he moved to F3 and won the F3 Open Championship with Team Westec. There is Jordan King, who I was talking about earlier on, and he lives about half an hour from the circuit. And the 20-year-old from Warwickshire, who's won the British Championship in Formula 3. 3 wins at Spa and 2 at the Nürburgring last year. So 3 wins and 5 podiums in total last season. Formula Renault experience as well for him, and he'll be starting on the 3rd row of the grid. Felix Serraris there for Team Westec. Team Westec very successful in Formula 3, in Formula 3 Open in particular. And it's their local race because the team is based in Corby, just down the road in Northamptonshire, co-founded by Gavin Wills, who himself was a very, very quick Formula Ford racer. So they'll be looking to go well. 3 times Euro F3 Open champions, a team Westec. But as Jordan King was saying to me yesterday, it's a 33 race championship. You can't win it this weekend, but you can certainly make it hard for yourself if things don't go well. So I'll be looking to get a solid start. There he is, Max Verstappen, 16 years of age, son of Jos the Boss, Jos Verstappen, who himself was a Formula 3 racer with German Formula 3 champion back in 1993. Raced, of course, in Formula 1. In fact, it's 20 years ago that his dad, Jos Verstappen, made his debut in F1 in the Brazilian Grand Prix, where he stood in for an injured JJ Leto and partnered Michael Schumacher. Antonio Fuoco there, the Italian driver, another of the Prema Power team entrants, going very, very well yesterday. He'll be third on the grid for this one. And there's the rookie of the day yesterday, really, in amongst a very high calibre of young drivers. The 17-year-old Esteban Ocon, second on the grid for this one, but on pole for races 2 and 3. Never been here to Silverstone before, and really did eke it out yesterday. Knew he hadn't quite hooked it up in the first qualifying session. Knew he had another couple of tenths in him, and he got up there in the second session. There's Tom Blomqvist, who will start this race from pole position, just shading it. He'll be on the second row of the grid for the other 2 races, receiving some last-minute words of encouragement from his team there. Youngest ever Formula Renault UK champion in 2010. And there you can see the grid. You can see just how close it was. 1 minute 51.327. Ocon in the second session did a 1 minute 51.322. And in the third session, exactly the same time as that, 1 minute 51.327. Ocon second on the grid. And then, as you can see there, Fuoco, Verstappen on row 2, Sorales and King on row 3, Jones and Latifi are on row 4, Van der Laar and Auer completing the top 10. There's the rest of the runners down. Disappointment, as I said, for Jake Dennis, but he said to me yesterday, it might be my home race, but I haven't raced here for 3.5 years, and that was in an Intersteps car, a very different type of machine, so it's not particularly an advantage for him to be here. There you can see the 26 cars on the grid. Late change for the driver there at the back, Tatiana Calderon, the only female in the championship who was due to be racing with the French team, Signature, but they're here, the cars are here, but she decided not to race for them. She moved across instead to the Joe Zeller team, and as you look at Tom Ronquist there, the pole position driver looking very focused on the job ahead. That late switch means that Signature are here, but with no drivers this weekend. So she's with Joe Zeller Racing, run by the multiple Swiss Formula 3 champion, starting at the back of the grid for this one. There then is the view inside Blomqvist's cockpit. There he is on the right of your screen, starting this race from the pole position. We're getting ready then for the formation lap. It's going to be a 35-minute race. All the races this weekend are 35 minutes, all the same point scoring system. The FIA point scoring system, 25 for a win, 18 for second, 15 for third, points all the way down to 10th place. So the cars, as I mentioned, with a lot more power available to them than last year. This year's pole position time was 2.7 seconds quicker than last year's pole time, which Harry Tinknell set. Harry, who went well in the championship last year, the British driver. Also did some British Formula 3 racing, but he's racing this weekend in sports prototypes here in the European Le Mans Series. Maybe keeping an eye on some of his old rivals from last year. So Tom Ronquist for Jagonia IM with Carlin on pole position, powered by Volkswagen. Then Esteban Ocon, the French driver for Prema Power Team. Mercedes powered that car. His teammate Antonio Fuoco is third. Max Verstappen for Van Amersfoort Racing, who incidentally his father Jos also used to race for back in the day, before he did Formula 3 back in 1992, won the Formula Opel Championship with the very well-established Dutch team, as the cars now head off onto their formation lap. And the Van Amersfoort powered by Volkswagen. So rookies, second, third and fourth on the grid. Felix Sorales went very well yesterday. Team Westec were very pleased with the Puerto Rican, who's in the number 21 car. And he's going to be starting the race in fifth position, having gone pretty well in pre-season testing as well. Sorales was one driver who topped the times in pre-season testing. Bases himself in Northampton these days, near the team. But as I said, from Puerto Rico originally. Came up through Skip Barber and Formula Renault, British F3 a couple of years ago. In fact, some British Formula 3 last year as well. He was third in the British Formula 3 Championship 2 years ago. There's a Silverstone here, running for cover as the noise of these 2-litre Formula 3 cars builds to a crescendo on this formation lap. So the full Grand Prix circuit here this weekend. It is 5.89 kilometres long, 3.6 miles. Very long circuit here at Silverstone. And after I spoke to him after the first qualifying session yesterday, it's a real test for these drivers. Esteban Ocon was telling me it's really hard to stay focused completely and get every single corner right on a qualifying lap when they were only getting about 3 laps premium out of the tyres. Most drivers were staying out for the full 20-minute session yesterday, but most of the quick times really came in the first 4 or 5 laps of the session. Jordan King said you stay out, you hope, and you keep hoping that you make an improvement, but not many people did at the end of the sessions. And there you can see on his formation lap, Gustavo Menezes going around. He'll be lining up a little bit further down the grid, back in 18th position for Van Amersfoort Racing, whereas his teammate Max Verstappen is up in 4th place. Half a second covered the top 8 in qualifying yesterday. So expecting a cracking race here. They try and generate some heat in these tyres. It's definitely cooler than it was yesterday by a few degrees. And there's been no warm-up session for these drivers this morning. They've qualified at 20 to 6 yesterday evening, finished at 6 o'clock, and then it's back in the cars this morning. So still dry, there's been no overnight rain or anything like that, but the track temperature definitely quite a bit cooler than it was yesterday. Got gradually cooler as the day went on yesterday. Tom Blomqvist just starting to back up the field now, slow things up as he comes towards the end of the lap. Just lighting up the tyres, getting some heat into the brakes as well on the run down to the first corner at Abbey. Some long straights here, the Wellington Straight and of course the famous Hanger Straight, at the end of which are a couple of very decent overtaking opportunities into the left-hander at Brooklands at the end of the Wellington Straight. I think we'll see lots of action in the first half of the lap and the second half of the lap. It will be into Stowe Corner. So it's a wide circuit this, it's a long circuit. We've had some close times in qualifying. I think we're going to have a cracking first round to the FIA Formula 3 European Championship here at Silverstone. Then the tail enders just making their way onto the grid. Of course, for these rookies, going quick in qualifying, now having a race start, 2 very, very different things. It's worth mentioning as well, Jordan King said to me yesterday, maybe these rookies will push a bit too hard early on. You've got to look after the tyres to an extent. So he'll be maybe one to watch from 6th on the grid in the blue Carlin car, driving number 5, the British Formula 3 champion. The grid then is formed and we're almost ready to go with the first race of the season. The lights about to come on to red. The engine notes rise. Looking forward to the right-hander at Abbey. There goes the first red light. Tom Blomqvist, the pole position man to your right. The lights go out. The race gets underway. And it looks like a good start for Blomqvist and for Ocon. So it looks like Blomqvist is going to hold his position at the head of the field. Then Ocon. Then it looks like, virtually, is it Max Verstappen that makes it a good start as well. The rest of the field safely through. Watch for Felix Rosenqvist trying to come through from 14th on the grid if he can make his way through. There is Ocon. Jordan King's made a good start. He's picked up to 3rd by the looks of it. So from 5th to 3rd for Jordan King. From the 2nd row of the grid, he's gone through. Foucault is in 4th position. One of the drivers running wide down. I think it was Sean Galal, one of the Jagonia IM with Carlin drivers. Sean, the Indonesian driver, from 20th on the grid. Already a couple of car lengths advantage there for Blomqvist over Ocon. That good start for Jordan King. There's Ed Jones trying to go around the outside and pick up a place at the end of the Wellington Straight into Brooklands. Quite work out. And there's Felix Rosenqvist at the orange car, the Muka Motorsport car, desperately trying to work his way through it after a disappointing qualifying session. And he's on the outside there of Spike Goddard in the white and green car. He's going to have the inside line for Copse Corner. And I think he'll probably get through. Yes, he's done it already. So Felix Rosenqvist gaining a place. Then his next target is going to be Felipe Gomes, the Brazilian driver in the blue RR racing car. Through the Beckett's S's for the first time. Then Tom Blomqvist here looking good, pulling a couple of car lengths already over the French driver Ocon. Rest of the field filtering their way through. We've had a couple running wide, but don't think we've had any real dramas so far. Roy Nissany there towards the back of the field. Last but one has lost a place or two. 1.4 seconds the advantage already for Blomqvist. So tremendous stuff from him. Then Jordan King in 3rd. This is Spike Goddard trying to get his position back here on Felix Rosenqvist. Looks at the inside. There may have been contact there. The front left. Yeah, there was contact. I can see the end plate hanging off the Australian's car. And he wasn't quite close enough to have an attack there. And it's damaged the car. So the front wing awry on Spike Goddard's car. Real disappointment for the Australian there, who tried to get the place back from Felix Rosenqvist. But he wasn't close enough at the inside. Felix had to turn into the corner. And the Swede's rear tyre made contact with the front left of the Australian, who will either limp on now or try and get back to the pits, but effectively that's going to ruin his race. So at the end of the first lap, Tom Blomqvist is the leader by 1.5 seconds. And that's Jake Dennis there, who looks like he's had damage. The number 28 there, backed by Racing Steps Foundation, the Carlin run driver. His front wing was wobbling all over the place. Quick shot of that. So he's been right in the thick of the action by the looks of things. Goddard still going by the looks of the screen, but at the back of the field there. So lots of action in the midfield here as they try and establish themselves. There at the front of the shot there, the yellow helmet, that's Jake Dennis, who's made the step up from Formula Renault racing and has gone well in pre-season testing. Into Steps champion, his first year of car racing 3 years ago in 2011. As they come through Copse Corner now, having settled themselves down. It's a 35-minute race. It's going to be run over a distance of 18 laps by the looks of things. So Tom Blomqvist with a perfect start. It was a very good start as well for Esteban Ocon off the line. And there we have, I think that's Beretta, Michele Beretta. It looked like the back of the number 8 Euro International car, which is wound up in the gravel trap. And there comes Spike Goddard into the pit lane. Here's a replay of the start. Look at Jordan King, the blue Carlin car, making an excellent start to get fourth by the time he got into the first corner. Then he picked another one up on the way out of Abbey. There was the shenanigans in the midfield. And there we see 1 or 2 running wide. Oh, this is the incident which saw 2 cars off in the gravel. And Beretta was one of them. Alexander Toril was the one coming together with him in the 3 Bond with T-Sport car. So that's the teammate to Spike Goddard who had that problem that we saw there as well with Felix Rosenqvist. So the T-Sport squad with the Neil Brown engines having a very difficult first lap there. There's Rui Nisani at the back of the field trying to make his way through. Blomqvist leads by 1.3 seconds from Ocon. King is still third. That's Rui Nisani trying to get ahead of the number 7 of Riccardo Agostini, who's lost quite a few places. And they're into the pits, I'm afraid, comes Jake Dennis, who suffered that damage on the first lap to his front wing. So really frustrating start to the season for Jake, having had so much promise in the pre-season tests. Difficult day in qualifying yesterday, but when qualifying doesn't go well, you find yourself in the middle of the pack on the first lap. There's always the danger that you're going to be receiving some damage somehow. Anthony Fuoco, the Italian, in 4th place. He's got 2 rookies in the top 4. Ocon in 2nd, Fuoco in 4th. Latifi made a good start to the race. Nicola Latifi has gone from 8th to 5th in the first couple of laps for Prema Power Team. Jake Dennis with his new nose cone on is going to leave the pits, but this is effectively now just going to be a test session. He's not realistically going to get any points and into the top 10, so he leaves the international pit lane here at Silverstone and rejoins. One British driver with misfortune. Another going rather well is Tom Blomqvist, though. There he is, maintaining this advantage, but not really pulling away anymore. And there in the gravel. Oh, we're going to get the safety car out by the looks of things. Yep, the safety car is being deployed. So Tom Blomqvist's 1.3 second advantage. He's going to turn to dust now as they all queue up onto the back of him. Both cars coming right there. There to the left of the picture, you can see Alexander Toril's car, the number 12 car, which had made contact. That looks like it into Brooklands at the end of the Wellington Straight. And going to get another replay of it now, I think. There he is, the left-hander at Brooklands. Wait for it, wait for it. There they go. Didn't quite see the start of the incident, but looked like they just came together under braking into the left-hander at Brooklands. So sad start to the season for Alexander Toril. He's out, and the other car, which has been craned away, was the number 8 of Michele Beretta, the Euro International driver. His teammate Riccardo Agostini still in the race. There you can see the order. Blomqvist, Ocon, King, Fuoco, Latifi, Lucas Auer, 4th in the championship last year. Ed Jones, who made a pretty good start, 7th. Felix Sorales for Team West Tech is 8th. Then Guimares, then Rosenqvist. So Rosenqvist's picked up a couple of places. The Swede, up from 14th to 10th he's gone in these first few laps. And of course the good news for him is that they're all going to be bunched up behind the safety car now. So he'll be in the mix, and his next target is still Guimares, the Brazilian driver. He's still not yet been able to get past him. Don't think it'll be a very long safety car period because the marshal's very effectively dealing with the incident, and the recovery truck's already taking Alexander Terul's car away. His brother Miguel is a renowned GT racer, a Spaniard, racing a Mercedes SLS AMG GT3 car in the International GT Open Series last year. Hopefully we'll see more of Alex in the second race. There is the safety car then. So Tom Blomqvist, got to keep his head now as they prepare for what will fairly soon, I think, be the restart of the race. Once the lights go out on the safety car, then we'll know for sure that we're about to get back underway. Here at Silverstone last year, we had 3 different race winners from the 3 races. Harry Tinknell, the British driver, won the first race. Raffaele Marciello, who went on to win the championship, won race 2. And Felix Rosenqvist won race 3. So expected him to go well, particularly as runner-up in the championship last year. Bad qualifying, but he has made some progress already. Had a pretty good weekend. He won that race. He finished 3rd in another of the races here last year. So safety car just backing things up now, waiting for the pack to catch up. Best guess is that'll be another lap behind the safety car, and then we'll be underway. The benefit of having a long lap here at Silverstone is that there's plenty of time to group them all together without wasting too many laps. And there is Tom Blomqvist then, leading the way. Really burst onto the scene when he moved into cars. Raced in the Swedish Formula Renault Championship to begin with in 2009. Then raced in the UK Formula Renault Championship. Was just 16 when he won that title to become the youngest ever driver to do so. Been racing in F3 for a few years now though. Raced in the ATS F3 Cup in 2011, in which he finished in 6th place. 5th the year after that, 2012. And then he rejoined the revamped European F3 Championship, which had been away as a championship for a number of years. 3 podiums last year. Here's another replay of the start then. And actually Anthony Fuoco, the Italian, made a good start. He was all over the back of Esteban Ocon. Jordan King had got to 4th place there. And I think it was probably down the Wellington Straight where Jordan King... No, it was into the loop by the looks of things. Jordan had already got through and up into 3rd place. Just past the commentary box, Spike Goddard trying to catch the pack up now. So he's still out there. He's been in the pits, repaired the car. And Jake Dennis, of course, as well. He's out there and will be hoping to catch up the pack. So at least try and charge his way through. Yeah, a little bit clumsy that there from the Australian. And then Max Verstappen. I won't talk too much about him, but he was another involved in incidents in that first lap. And he's been in the pits as well with, again, damage to the front wings. So super qualifying. Not such a good start to his race career, though. See whether it was his fault or another driver's. But anyway, end result is he's one of 3 drivers now at the back of the pack that are potentially quick drivers to come through. So we could have an exciting restart when they do get the race back underway. Heading down the Hanger Straight now. Yesterday in qualifying, the top speeds down that Hanger Straight are about 245 kilometres an hour. Absolutely thunder down there. Into Stowe Corner, which is a quicker corner than you might think. The end of such a long straight. It actually carries still a lot of speed into the right-hander at Stowe. And the fans enjoying themselves here. He's going to get noticed. He's going to get a lot of attention in that, isn't he, this weekend? Or she. I'm not sure it's a real racing driver, though. So there you can see the background. There's Jake Dennis at the back of the field. We're trying to catch them up. Just coming out of Chapel and onto the Hanger Straight with Spike Goddard. So I think he'll just about get to the back of this pack. The Australian ready for the restart. Coming out of Vale into Vale down towards Club Corner. That's Stowe at the top of the screen at the end of the Hanger Straight. And you can see the circuit undulates a little there. It's a fairly flat circuit at Silverstone. Not too much undulation. And then they go into the last complex. And they are going to have another lap behind the safety car. I thought they might have just about had enough time to get them underway this time, but looks like there'll be another lap behind the safety car. So that gives Spike Goddard a time to just settle himself down now, having ragged it around to catch up to the back of the pack. The championship this year As I said, it's going to be run over 33 races, supporting the DTM on a lot of weekends. We're as part of the World Endurance Championship this weekend. Lots of people here to support Mark Webber, his debut for Porsche this weekend, with that race to come tomorrow. So good crowds here at Silverstone. Then we go to Hockenheim next month, the start of May, for the next rounds. And then to Pau in France for the third race. There are two of our unfortunate drivers. Those are the two that came together at Brooklands to the right of your picture there. That's the Spaniard, Alexander Turil. And walking a few steps in front of him, not particularly chatty with one another, was Michele Beretta, the Italian for Euro International. And yes, those two were fairly close together in qualifying pace yesterday. There's the run through what used to be the last couple of corners of the lap, through this right-hander at Luffield and into the Woodcut Kink, and then over what used to be the start-finish line here at Silverstone. Still, for smaller races, is used as a start-finish down towards Copse Corner of the run. But there is the national pit straight into the famous Copse Corner. And some drivers were mighty through there yesterday. I don't think they were lifting at all off the throttle. Esteban Ocon. I watched Ocon in the second qualifying session down at the Beckett's S's yesterday, which they're about to come up to. And he was absolutely fantastic through there, the French driver. Just nailing it, and you didn't need to see the times to know he was a couple of tenths quicker than most people through there, just carrying so much speed through the S's. This fabulous complex where the cars, these Formula 3 cars, just glued to the tarmac. So Ocon, definitely a talent, really nice young man as well. I had a good chat with him yesterday. Intelligent driver, only 17 years of age. Incredible, isn't it, to think how young they are. We've got 16 and 17-year-olds out there. He's a Lotus Formula 1 junior driver, so I'd remember the name if I was you, Esteban Ocon. He's impressed so far. Great karting career. All of these drivers really coming from karting. Double French karting champion. And as I said, he came up through the Formula Renault Euro Cup. Last year he finished third in the Euro Cup with a couple of wins. He actually made his Formula 3 debut at Snetterton because he needed to drive an MSV Formula 3 Cup car to qualify for Macau, in which he finished 10th at the end of last year. Right then, the safety car is about to peel in, and the race is about to get back underway. Tom Blomqvist will lead them through. Ready for the restart of the race, and already a bit of action there for second place. That was Jordan King getting ahead of Ocon, just past the blend line. They don't have to wait to the start-finish line. They just have to go past the safety car line, and maybe Ocon caught napping there, but he's got the place back. Look, on the way into the first corner, the French driver immediately gets back ahead of the British driver, Jordan King. And a little bit further down the order, that's number 3, Lucas Auer, who is 6th and trying to go around the outside of Nicola Latifi for 5th position. And he's got better drive out of the corner, and through he goes on the way onto the Wellington straight. Good move that, if he can keep it going. He shoved the inside line at the end of the straight as they come out of Aintree. They're still pushing each other hard, though. No, Latifi's still trying to get back up the inside on the way into Brooklands, and I think he's done it, the Canadian. So he's held the position, but look at this, still wheel-to-wheel as they're going to the right-hander at Luffield, and eventually the Orange Buka Motorsport car gets through. So Lucas Auer makes up a place, but it took him 3 corners to do so. Nicola Latifi was not giving it up easily. So change for 5th position there. Great wheel-to-wheel racing. There you can see that Jake Dennis has already made up one place, and I think he's about to go flying past the Israeli driver Roy Nassani to gain another one. Spike Goddard looking menacing at the back of the field too. Those two drivers coming back from earlier contact. I don't think Max Verstappen has gone back out after his earlier incident. Look at this wheel-to-wheel here as they make their way through Vale, and Latifi coming under attack now from Ed Jones. Ed Jones right on his tail in the number 6 car, the UAE driver. And right with them as well is Felix Morales in his blue Team Westtech car. So tremendous battle here at the tail end of the top 6. Morales goes up the inside. Jones was trying to attack 2 corners ago. In the end, he has to give up the place there. Through he goes. Nice move that into Stowe corner to get the place from him. So Morales picks up a place. Jones is bumped back down 1, 6th, 7th, 8th altogether. In fact, 9th, 10th and 11th are right behind them as well. And this is just allowing the top 5 to get a bit of breathing space here. The race leaders go through. And there is the number 16 of Gustavo Menezes, who is down in 16th place at the moment. The race leader is still Tom Blomqvist, and he pulled a 2nd at the end of that first lap of the restart. So Tom Blomqvist really keeping his head together. He was helped, I suppose, by the battle between Ocon and King, as we see a move there from Sean Gallout, the yellow number 20 car, the Jagonia IM with Carlin car. Carlin running the cars. but in partnership with the Malaysian company. Tom Blomqvist, in another of those cars, of course, leads the race. So there's all sorts of scrapping going on down in the midfield. Had that really good battle with Auer as well. And a place lost there for John Bryant Meissner in the blue and yellow machine. So Meissner loses a place. That would be for 14th as Sean Galal made a move and got up the inside of him. So Sean Galal's making quite a few places up on this restart. The Indonesian driver with a big fan base doing a good job in the first lap of restart, picking up a couple of places. There he is in the number 20 car, and he's already left the blue and yellow machine, the Fortec entered car of John Bryant Meissner. Fortec, the multiple Formula Renault champions, running a couple of cars here this weekend. The other one being of Mitchell Gilbert, who's running in 13th place at the moment, the Australian. There is the number 19 of Antonio Giovinazzi, another of the Jagonia I Am with Carlin entered cars. And he's going pretty well in 11th place, just outside of the points at the moment, just outside of the top 10. There's the top three. There's Jordan King, briefly got into second place off the restart as they went across the safety car line, which is going into the last corner at Club here. But on the way into the first corner at Abbey, the French driver Esteban Ocon with a good move to get that second place back. But Jordan King is hanging on to him. Look, there they go, second, third. There in fourth place, Antonio Fuoco, the Italian driver. Lucas Auer, Austrian, in fifth. Nicola Latifi is next up. I've just seen a gaggle of cars at the back of the field going past me, and that is them on screen there. Jake Dennis squeezing through. Spike Goddard trying to gain a place as well. Both of them making their way past Agostini, I think it was. And you've got Roy Nassani in the orange car, the blue helmet there, the Israeli driver in the mix as well, just in front of Goddard. So there they are, trying to make their way up through the field. Jake Dennis has made a couple of places up on that lap. He's got back up into, well, he's 19th now. He was 20th at the start of the lap, and I think he's gone into 19th position now. Spike Goddard pulls out of the slipstream. These quick drivers coming through, having had the second chance of a safety car to bunch everybody back up together. Both Dennis and Goddard, with damage to their front wings in separate incidents, were in the pits after the first lap of the race. There's Dennis at the front of the group, then Nassani, and then Goddard, the Australian. Get a replay here of a very, very wide Tatiana Colderani, and just about held the place there, despite Riccardo Agostini's best efforts to get past in the black Euro International car. So those towards the back of the field. Calderon currently running in 23rd position. And Spike Goddard's got himself ahead of Roy Nassani. Kicks up the dust there, and now he's trying to catch up to the tail of Jake Dennis. If those two can work together, you never know. Points might be possible. Going to have their work cut out, but they'll just try and get some race experience now. Just boost the confidence for the race this afternoon, and then tomorrow's third race of the weekend, which is very early tomorrow morning. Gaps between the top three then, I think, beginning to open up. 1.19 seconds now. You can see Tom Blomqvist just eking away from the rookie, Ocon. And then King comes through next. King was a tenth slower than Ocon on the previous lap. It's been personal best. In fact, there's been fastest sector times for the man in fourth, actually, on the last lap. Antonio Fuoco in the number 25, the rookie driver. He's 2.5 seconds behind the leader, but he's just put in a very quick lap here. So he's got the fastest lap of the race with a 1:52.3. It's about 1 second slower than the qualifying time, but don't forget the tyres have had more use now in the race, and the cars will no doubt have a little bit more fuel, a little bit more weight on board. The drivers on board and the fuel on board, anyway, the minimum weight 565 kilograms, so 240 brake horsepower, but effectively they've got around about 450 brake horsepower per tonne, these cars. I'm going to get another replay, and that was a big lock-up from Roy Nassani, which I think was what unsighted Calderon, which is why she ran a little bit wide and then almost lost that place to Agostini. So here they come. 9 laps to go in this 35-minute race. Tom Blomqvist controlling things from the front, but the Cambridge-based driver, son of the 11 times winner of World Rally Championship events, Stig Blomqvist, the British passport, British race licence, leading the way. The French driver Ocon second, kind of matching his pace. almost, but possibly now. A bit more worried about Jordan King on this lap. Jordan King looks like he's had a good lap and still going well in 4th place. I still wouldn't rule him out. Look, he's starting to come into the picture now. Antonio Fuoco, the Italian driver, set a very quick final sector on the previous lap. He's the holder of the fastest lap of the race so far. And Lucas Auer's on a very similar pace to him in 5th place. So 4th and 5th might yet come into this battle for a podium position. There's Jordan King then, last year's British Formula 3 champion. Lives in Leamington Spa, comes from Warwickshire. Almost a local lad. Only 1.5 seconds down on the race leader. It can't really make any impression on Blomqvist. But has he been looking after the tyres a bit better? Possibly. We'll see. You can see Felix Rosenqvist on the graphic there. He's up to 9th place now. Last year's runner-up. But I thought he might pick up a few more places once they all got bunched together under the safety car. It hasn't really happened for him. Another British driver, Hector Hurst, is going to be the next target for Jake Dennis, who tries to pick his way through the order. That's for 18th and 19th positions, respectively. Although, look, he's got Spike Goddard, Richard Goddard, right on his tail here. And Goddard looks like he's made a better exit as they make their way through Woodcut Corner onto the national pit straight. Is he going to have a lunge at the inside into Copse Corner? Jake Dennis thinks it might be coming, so he goes a bit defensive on the way into the right-hander. But no, there's been no attack there from the Australian. He's still about half a car length behind him. They'll run down then through Maggots and into the Beckett's S's. Just in front of them in the dark coloured car there is Hector Hurst, number 22, who's raced in Formula Renault and also in Formula 2 prior to his Formula 3 outings. And that'll be Max Verstappen, won't it? I think we just caught the back end of. The only retiree from the race so far. A number of pit visitors, but only he has retired. But you'll see a lot more, I'm sure, of Max, who's been absolutely sensational in kart racing and very quick indeed in Formula 3. Wasn't actually planning to come into Formula 3. Was looking at maybe Formula Renault, but he did some tests over the winter and it went really well. So they thought, well, why not? Let's go straight to Formula 3. But difficult start to the campaign for him. And I can see past the commentary box window that Spike Goddard has now got past Jake Dennis. So there's been that change between those two for 18th positions. That was the end of the lap. He just managed to get through. And as I say, the next target is going to be for them. In fact, Hector Hurst has dropped back behind them as well. So they're now 18th and 19th. And it's going to be Jules Simkoviak, the Dutch driver. Actually, has only been racing. Was his first proper racing season. Competed in the Formula BMW Talent Cup last year. Prior to that, did some karting and some motocross. And Jules was saying to me yesterday that he can get the pace, but it takes him too long to learn at the moment, as Roy Nassani makes a move there and gains a place. It's a good move to get ahead of Hector Hurst in the blue car there. So Hector Hurst just dropping a couple of places at the moment. I wonder if he's got a problem, the Team Westtech driver. His teammate Felix Sorales is still going well in 7th place and still running in the points. So Hector Hurst just losing some time on these laps. A little bit more spread out at the tail end of the field now because those quicker drivers have come through. And there is Agostini coming onto the tail now of Hurst. So this is going to be the battle for, 20th place as they make their way through the Beckett's S's. And there is Agostini in the number 7 machine. One of the Euro International drivers, Mercedes-powered car that. And here's another look at that move on Hector Hurst from Roy Nassani. Roy's pulled off a couple of good moves since the race got back underway after the safety car period. He's not going to get any points, I don't think, in the race, but he certainly pulled off a couple of nice moves. Had a near miss and a near spin in the one of the free practice sessions yesterday when I was watching up at Luffield. Just took Brooklands a bit too quickly, as a number of them did. And almost made contact, but just about got away with it. Only 19 years of age, Roy Nassani from Tel Aviv. And a bit of bodywork there coming off, what was that, Antonio Giovinazzi's car. Hopefully it's not going to slow him too much. Gap 1.2 seconds now between the top two. 152.5 for Blomqvist last time around, 152.8 for Ocon, so 0.3 quicker for the race leader. And then Jordan King with a 152.4. So I think it might be becoming about the battle for second rather than the race leader now, as we come towards the closing third of the race. There you can see John Bryant Meissner in the foreground in 15th place, with Meneses not too far behind him. So there he's second, Esteban Ocon, the French driver, and there Jordan King, who's a bit quicker than him at the moment, starting to reel him in as they come out of Chapel Curve. There's the race leader going under the bridge on Hanger Straight, second, third, and has fourth going. Antonio Fuoco, 152.9 last time around. He had been catching the top three, but he lost a bit of time last time around. So whether he made a mistake somewhere, I'm not sure. But King and Blomqvist in first and third respectively. Blomqvist the leader, King in third, both setting personal best lap times last time around. And it feels like, doesn't it, that Jordan King is starting to wind things up now and trying to catch Ocon as they come onto the start-finish straight. And this will help the race leader, who's now got another couple of tenths advantage. 1.5 seconds clear he is. King coming after Ocon in this battle for second position here. Could we have British drivers first and second, or the Frenchman, the Lotus F1 Junior driver, split them? As I said, a talent to watch. Macau Grand Prix, the ex-Portuguese colony in South China Seas. He had an impressive debut there over the winter in 10th place. Could have been higher, but I think he stalled on the grid at the start of the race. But it looked like he would be in the top 5 or 6 in that race, which is no mean feat. Very difficult street circuit. And Ocon has carried that form through here. His first weekend racing in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. But Jordan King with that bit more experience behind. Just that tiny bit quicker at the moment. Starting to close in on the French driver. Good battle going on here for 15th place. Well, for 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th actually. They're all together. Mitchell Gilbert in the red and white car there, the Australian. And Sean Galal has gone well. He's up to 14th place now, Sean Galal. Started 20th in the race. Talked about some of the moves he's pulled off. He's driven pretty well here, the Indonesian. So he's up now into 14th. The blue and yellow machine is John Bryant Meissner, the Swedish driver in the Mercedes-powered Fortec. And then we have Gustavo Meneses in the Van Amersfoort racing car, the green and black car, powered by Volkswagen, in that little battle that's going on as well. Not for points, but for honour, really. And looking more and more comfortable at the head of the field here is Tom Blomqvist. You get the chance of a pole position. You really want to make the points count and turn it into a race win. There is Antonio Fuoco, the Italian, 17 years of age. If you like racing, he's living in the right place, isn't he? Because he lives in Maranello in Italy and is indeed a Ferrari driver academy star. Ferrari keeping a close eye on his progress, as they did with Raffaele Marciello over the last couple of seasons, who won this championship in 2013. So Luca Baldisseri and the Ferrari Driver Academy will be pleased with the way Fuoco's gone so far this weekend. Fuoco actually means fire in Italian. Pretty good name for a racing driver. And he has been on fire so far this weekend. And he is starting to wind things up as well. I've had the fastest lap of the race now for Tom Blomqvist last time around with a 152.2. 152.9 for Ocon was one of his slower laps, but Jordan King did a 153.1 and wasn't much quicker. One driver there kicking up the dust. That was Hector Hurst running a little bit wide as he went out of Village and into the loop. And that will probably, possibly anyway, cost him a position to Agostini, who was right on his tail there, as he loses traction going on to the Wellington Straight. So here's Jordan King in third place. As I said, he didn't really make much progress on Ocon. They both lost time on the previous lap, whereas Antonio Fuoco is looking pretty racy now. So second, third and fourth, not too much to choose between them. Lucas Auer in the background still running, the Austrian in fifth place, and the Canadian Nicolas Latifi in sixth position. Half a move there from number 26, which is the Dutch driver Dennis van der Laar, trying to get through and then thinking better of it, and probably quite rightly so. I think there might have been a big contact there as he tried to get past Antonio Giovinazzi for 11th place, knowing that just up the road is a potential point with the top 10 scoring points. At the moment, Guimarães is in 10th place, but only just about a second in front of them. So I think van der Laar keen to get through. Only a few laps to go in this race. 15 laps complete now, and there we have that little battle going on. Still trying to get themselves onto the tail of the man in the blue car with Gomares running in the final point scoring position in 10th place. There he is, Dennis van der Laar, having a couple of good laps to get him in contention here. Just can't quite find a way through at the moment, the 20-year-old who lives in Zandvoort and came up through things like the Suzuki Swift Cup and Formula Renault Northern European Championship. Formula 3 debut in 2012 when he raced in the ATS F3 Cup. Raced in this championship last year, had 7-point scoring finishes, but no podiums, and raced at Macau as well. He's aiming for a top 5 in the championship this year. That's what he stated in his press release, that he would be satisfied with. A big step forward if he can do that in this very, very competitive championship. At the moment, he's just trying to get a point. But first, he's got to try and get past, if he can, Giovinazzi in the yellow Jagonia IM Carling car, and then up to 10th with Gomares. So looking a bit difficult. There's the race leader, Tom Blomqvist, at the front of the screen. There is Ocon in the black car, and Jordan King and Focko's dropped back from them now in 4th place, hasn't he? How are those charges coming on? Spike Goddard still 18th, Jake Dennis still 19th. Dennis now onto the tail though of Simkovic. So Goddard's got him, I think. So Goddard's up to 17th, I reckon. And in fact, he's attacking now. John Bryant Meisner, the Swedish driver, trying to go around the outside of him here. Brave stuff from the Australian. Is he going to squeeze through? Hold your breath. Keep your foot buried. Meisner's holding the inside line, but all the way around the outside of him into Stowe Corner. The Australian goes through. So a couple of places gained on this lap. It's a real charge here from Spike Goddard. Might not get any points, but he certainly entertained us. And behind Jake Dennis was also trying to pick up a place on Jules Simkovic. Whether he got through or no, he didn't get through. He's right behind him, look, as they come onto the start-finish straight. So watch for the red and white car. The Racing Steps Foundation back driver goes up the inside into Abbey Corner and pulls off a simple, straightforward move to go up to 18th place now from the back of the field. And there is Meisner now coming under all sorts of attack from everybody else, having lost all of his momentum. I think he's going to lose a place now to Menezes. So there is Menezes in the number 16 car, the green and silver and black machine. So all the best battles really have been in that midfield, haven't they? Lots going on here. Now, this is a little bit further up the road. Oh, back to this battle now with Meisner again being forced out wide as he tries to get back ahead of Menezes, but Menezes holds him. And then Jake Dennis, look, has been able to catch them all up. So Jake Dennis might be ready to pounce any moment soon and maybe get another place. Spike Goddard, though, the best of the chargers from the back of the field, up to 15th place now. His next target is Sean Galal. There he is, Sean Galal, the orange helmet and the yellow car. And there is the flying Spike Goddard, reeling him in. Goddard going very well indeed. 1 minute 54.9. He was 0.8 of a second quicker than Sean Galal on the previous lap. So could well be another place or two in the final couple of laps of this race for Goddard, who is 21 now. Raced in British Formula Ford as well, so he'll know the circuit reasonably well. In fact, rates Silverstone as his favourite UK circuit. Spike Goddard decided he wanted to become a racing driver when his dad took him to the Australian Grand Prix, Melbourne, when he was 13 years of age, as Jake Dennis tries to get up the inside of John Bryant Meisner, and through he goes at the end of Hanger Straight. Dennis with another place gained. At the head of the field, gap opening up between the top two, Blomqvist, then Ocon, then King. Antonio Focko is falling away in 4th place now, so it's looking more and more settled at the front of the field. He's still 3 seconds or so clear of Lucas Auer in 5th. Latifi in 6th place is a couple of seconds back on him. Sorales is 7th, Jones is 8th, Rosenqvist still 9th, Gomares still in the final point scoring position in 10th. But with van der Laar now having got up to 11th place, ahead of Giovinazzi, that still might be under threat. So keep an eye on the progress of Dennis van der Laar, the Dutch driver in number 26, as he tries to get up into the top 10. We are, though, on the final lap of the race, so he's not got much time to do it. Down towards Copse Corner goes the race leader. This has been a very accomplished drive from Tom Blomqvist, who is one of the more experienced F3 drivers out there. He's still only 20 years old, but just that couple of seasons more experience. Of course, he knows Silverstone well from his Renault UK days, as well as having raced here in Formula 3. And it's been a very, very controlled drive. Good start initially, a good restart from Tom Blomqvist. Plenty of early pressure. The first half of the race, really, he pulled a second or so on the first laps, but then that gap kind of stayed the same with Ocon and King both shadowing him. But he hasn't put a wheel wrong, has he, Tom Blomqvist? There's a change further back because Spike Goddard there in the white and green car is already ahead of Sean Galal. So that's going to be him up to 14th place now. Good driving from Goddard. It's just a pity he had the problem in the first place, which put him in the pits and at the back of the field with the broken wing. Here comes the flag, though, and the winner of the first round of the championship is Tom Blomqvist. He takes a very controlled drive there, and in his first ever race at Silverstone, in his first ever race in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, it's second place to Esteban Ocon, the French driver. Jordan King will be on the podium as well in third position. And then another rookie, Antonio Fuoco, coming home in fourth place. Lucas Auer, fourth in last year's championship, has a solid start in fifth. And Prema Power Team get their man, Nicola Latifi, the Canadian, home in sixth position. Sorrell is seventh, Jones in eighth, Rosenqvist ninth. Guimaraes held on to the final top 10 position. And the final point, he was 1.5 seconds clear in the end of Dennis van der Laar, who just left it a bit too late to try and come up to him. So the race winner there, Tom Blomqvist. It's a perfect start to the season for him. He knows it's not going to be an easy season with all these quick young rookies coming through, and they're only going to get quicker, and they're only going to get more experienced, and the competition is only going to get tougher. So maybe the likes of Blomqvist, Rosenqvist, if he can, and King, who are coming back to Formula 3, need to make these early races count and need to get the points on the board early doors. There's then confirmation of the provisional results. Blomqvist the winner by 2.1 seconds for Jagonia with Carlin. Prema Power Team have Esteban Ocon in second place. Another Carlin man, Jordan King, third. And then Prema again, Antonio Fuoco in fourth place. The rest of the top 10 as I gave it to you. And 14th place in the end there for Richard Goddard. Or Spike, as he likes to call himself, there in 14th place from the back of the field. The non-finishers, Max Verstappen, who had damage early on in the race, and then that coming together between Toril and Beretta. They were out of action as well. So tremendous stuff here from Silverstone. Tom Blomqvist will make his way down. We won't quite have time to show the podiums here at Silverstone, as Andre Lotterer will be presenting the trophy, the winning trophy, to Tom Blomqvist. So some race highlights from what was a very interesting opening round to the season here at Silverstone. We hope you can join us again soon. Race 2 coming up this afternoon at 13:15 here local time, and race 3 tomorrow morning. I hope you can join us again for those two. Well done to Tom Blomqvist. My name's Chris Hartley, and I'll talk to you again very soon.